Hello, I am Dr. Kayleen Asbo, music historian in residence for the Santa Rosa Symphony Orchestra. I want to invite you into our next concert series in December, where we're going to encounter the roots of passion and the search for musical and personal identity. Underneath the baton of our third candidate for music director, Andrew Grams, we're going to explore the works of Hector Berlioz, Maurice Ravel, Sergei Rachmaninoff, and Claude Debussy. The first piece of music that we're going to listen to is by Hector Berlioz. As a young Parisian, he had gone to the playhouse and he had encountered the works of Shakespeare brought to life by the charismatic Irish actress Harriet Smithson. Hector fell desperately in love with this young actress, and the memory of her as Ophelia and Juliet haunted him when he was in Rome. Side by side, he worked on two great works of music: the Symphony Fantastique, which we know as the musical journal of his obsession for this actress, and King Lear, a story that traces the arc of self-deception, revelation, hard-won wisdom, and love lost. Berlioz sought to put all of those themes into this orchestral work. And we're going to hear then this young voice who's connecting to Shakespeare as a source of inspiration. It also was the root of his passion that did not die. And I'll let you in on a secret. Eventually, he was able to marry the woman of his wild, youthful longings, the actress who had first brought him to Shakespeare. The second work on our program is Ravel's bright and brilliant Concerto in G. Considered by many to be one of the best concertos ever written and the epitome of the French concerto. Ravel grew up with twin obsessions. From his father, he inherited a love of mechanical gadgets and clock shops. From his mother, he inherited a love of Spanish culture, and particularly a love of Spanish dance. In this piano concerto, we get to hear those two streams woven together. The beginning of this is filled with references to mechanical wizardry. We hear this pattern in the piano part. In one key in the right hand, in another key in the left hand. The two together, I invite you to consider as the sort of sound you might have heard if you had wandered into a clock shop where all the machines were going crazy. We encounter another theme that evokes the perfume of Granada, fully Spanish in its sensibilities. It's sultry and sensual. Perfuming the air with its allure of Spanish sensuality. This is a piece of profound technical virtuosity. We're going to have glissandos all over the place. I hope the poor pianist doesn't make their fingers bloody with the efforts. We're also going to hear Ravel's musical diary, because he wrote this just in the years after he had gone to a visit to New York. And it was there while he was in New York that he encountered American jazz and George Gershwin. So when you listen to the woodwinds here, I just invite you to think of Rhapsody in Blue. Ooh, deliciously jazz-like. This first movement then is absolutely propelled with a sense of rhythmic vitality and jazzy exuberance as we weave together the sultriness of Spain, the clock shop of his father, and the influence of America. The second movement is a very different character. And here what we get are these twin influences, these twin musical roots that weave together with such beauty. Ravel says that he was particularly inspired by the slow movement of Mozart's final work, the Clarinet Concerto. But he was also haunted by the sounds, by the fragrance, if you will, of one of his role models, Erik Satie. the piano begins with this luxurious passage. And it spins into this languorous melody that makes us feel as if we are just floating on some cloud. Erik Satie had actually collaborated with Pablo Picasso to create a ballet called Parade. It was a ballet that celebrated the circus and had live circus performers on stage. A little bit of that energy is part of Ravel's third movement of his piano concerto. Fast, furious, witty, playful. It has all kinds of exuberance that brings to mind a circus, but a magnificent circus at that. As you listen to this, I invite you to consider clowns and gestures and acrobats galore, and an expression of joy and the joy of life. Our third piece on the program will be Rachmaninoff's Symphonic Dances. This was the last piece that he wrote in his life. And as he did so, it was as if he was doing a music review, going back over all the things that he had written and choosing select pieces that had personal significance for him. It is, in fact, a kind of diary. He takes out elements and quotes things from his disastrous First Symphony, a symphony that was so maligned by critics that it sent him into a whirlwind of despair and depression. He also quotes themes from his All-Night Vigils, a work of deep spirituality. And he weaves this together with a sort of mocking insouciance that holds the paradoxes of life. Joking, sarcasm, almost like Prokofiev, lush lyricism, a romantic sensibility, a fervent search and hope for longing. We hear throughout, then, these wafts of melodies as if they are just carrying us on the stream of memory. And we will also hear excerpts of Gregorian Chants. This one is the Dies Irae. It was a theme that was so important to Rachmaninoff. It's part of his variations on the theme of Paganini. It's present in his orchestral masterwork, The Bells, that we heard last year under Bruno Ferrandis with orchestra and soloists. And these bells that for him, this song, Dies Irae, signifies the death that he knew was coming. In these dances, then, we weave together the joy of life with the shadow of death, coming to a place of acceptance, joy, and hope. At the very end of our concert, we're going to have one last piece. It's a little bit like when you go to a French restaurant and they give you one final extra dessert. That piece is Claude Debussy's cherished Clair de Lune. And as you listen to that, I invite you to consider the question, if you were to be turning the pages of your memory book, what would be the songs that would be inside of that? I invite you to come and join me on December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for a trip down memory lane, for a search for the roots of passion, for a concert that celebrates memory and identity. Andrew Grams will be our third candidate for musical director of the Santa Rosa Symphony. You're invited to attend the dress rehearsal on the afternoon of December 2nd, or to attend the concerts at Weill Hall on December 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. An hour before each of those three performances, Maestro Grams and I will have a conversation about the roots of his passion, the pages of his memory book, and his dreams for the future of the Santa Rosa Symphony. If you'd like to go deeper, I invite you to come to this beautiful museum, the Petulama Historical Library and Museum, where there will be an ongoing exploration on the history of music. I'm Dr. Kayleen Asbo. I hope you join me for one or more of these musical adventures.